Dear colleagues, it is my great honor to introduce and invite our first panelist, Mr. Yasin Samatar, representing the International Labour Organization, Special Representative of the United Nations. We all understand that the person who was supposed to present in the first place was Ms. Cynthia Samuel Oronjuni, who has fallen sick. Therefore, Mr. Samatar, the floor is yours. Please try to keep your initial oral presentation to within 10 minutes so as to allow for the maximum interaction with delegates and other participants in this meeting. Mr. Samatar.
Thank you, Ambassador Sekaris and Mr. Kumwenda, our esteemed co-chairs, for this important discussion. At the outset, I wish to convey the ILO Special Representative's apologies for not being able to be with you today. She wanted me to convey her steadfast commitment on the promotion of the rights of persons with disabilities. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, ILO data continues to show that much more needs to be done to improve the employment opportunities of persons with disabilities. In fact, 7 in 10 persons with disabilities are outside of the labor force compared to 4 in 10 persons without disabilities. The labor market participation rate of persons with disabilities is generally 30 to 40 percentage points below that of persons without disabilities. The employment gap for women with disabilities is similar, but as the general labor market participation rate of women is lower than that of men, the labor market participation rate of women with disabilities is particularly low. Worldwide, persons with disabilities are overrepresented among those who are self-employed. In developing countries where the informal economy tends to be the biggest part of the national economy, people with disabilities are also overrepresented among workers in the informal economy, leading also to a lack of social protection. Where relevant wage data are available, they show that there is a disability wage gap, most of which is not actually explained by differences in educational achievements or age, but indeed by an equitable treatment of workers with disabilities. A particular concerning statistic which applies to all regions is that of youth with disabilities, who are twice likely to be neither in employment, education, or training compared to youth without disabilities. In some regions, this means that up to 1 in 2 youth with disabilities is neither in employment, education, or training. Article 27 on work and employment of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities remains far from being a reality for many persons with disabilities worldwide. More needs to be done to improve the labor market situation of persons with disabilities. Such improvements require both disability-targeted actions, but this is even more important also comprehensive and effective mainstreaming of the rights of persons with disabilities in general initiatives like youth employment promotion, vocational training, making use of the job opportunities in the digital and green economies, to name just a few. I'm pleased to share with you the multi-pronged positive actions which are contributing to a move in the right direction. The ILO collaboration with private sector employers, spearheaded by the ILO Global Business and Disability Network, has significantly boosted the employment of persons with disabilities within business communities worldwide. This global network has been instrumental for over a decade in developing, identifying, and disseminating exemplary corporate practices in disability inclusion, thereby fostering a more inclusive and diverse workforce. At the global level, the network currently comprises 40 leading multinational enterprises from diverse sectors, 6 international non-business entities with disability expertise, as well as the International Disability Alliance. At the country level, 40 national business and disability networks have been established in all continents, especially in the Global South. These national networks provide employer-led, country-level platforms for small and medium-sized enterprises, nationally or regionally operating companies, as well as local branches of multinational enterprises for peer-to-peer exchange and support on disability inclusion issues. Furthermore, the ILO Global Business and Disability Networks offers a free web-based self-assessment tool that helps companies to identify gaps, prioritize corrective action, and access human rights-based technical guidance and support on the inclusion of persons with disabilities. Some of the latest topics and practices that have been addressed in this network include the risks and opportunities of artificial intelligence in recruitment, self-identification of employees with disabilities, as well as accommodation for neurodivergent workers. At its 11th Global Annual Conference in November this year, this network will launch 2 knowledge products. The first is on the importance of including disability issues in the company's environmental social governance efforts and recommendations on disability-related key performance indicators in this area. The second is on disability inclusion in supply chains and their opportunities to contribute to decent work for people with disabilities. For a few years now, disability-inclusive climate action has received much more attention. The ILO has been contributing to this important development in collaboration with other UN entities and the International Disability Alliance. While much of the attention in this area is devoted to the negative impact that climate change has on persons with disabilities, the focus of the ILO is to ensure that persons with disabilities can play an active role in the just transition to a low-carbon economy, and that people with disabilities get access to green jobs that this transition is already creating. Another area of relevance for the ILO's work on the inclusion of persons with disabilities is in the care and support economy. For working-age persons with disabilities who require personal support, having this support and having it provided in the way in which persons with disabilities require will make the difference between being able to work or not. Coinciding with this Conference of State Parties, the International Labour Conference in Geneva is holding a general debate on the care economy, and we look forward to the outcome document which will define the work of the ILO in this area for the coming years. Through the work with business, which I mentioned earlier, the ILO contributes to fighting this widely held misconception that the only option for persons with disabilities in developing countries is work in the informal economy. The ILO has recently started a collaboration with the World Trade Organization, the UN Conference on Trade and Development, and the International Trade Center to promote more attention to disability inclusion in the context of trade. A first event on this will happen at the Aid for Trade Conference in Geneva later this month, and a second event is planned for the WTO Public Forum in September. Much more progress has been made over the last years on disability-inclusive social protection schemes. The ILO, together with UNICEF, has been at the forefront of this important work to ensure that people with disabilities are not left behind in social protection policies. Much more of this work has indeed been funded by the UN Partnership on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And in many countries, non-contributory disability benefits are incompatible with this work. This means that people with disabilities then lose disability-related social benefits when they earn an income. And faced with this dilemma due to poor policy design, persons with disabilities end up either not working or working in the informal economy. We insist that disability benefits need to be compatible with wage employment, as these social benefits will cover the extra costs of living with a disability in typically inaccessible and exclusionary environments. While much progress has been made to mainstream the rights of persons with disabilities in the work of the United Nations system, I think it is fair to say that there is still more that needs to be done to ensure that persons with disabilities are fully included in the most relevant global initiatives. The Global Accelerator on Jobs and Social Protection for Just Transition, as well as the Global Coalition for Social Justice, both of which the ILO continues to be a significant proponent of, are examples of global initiatives that need to lead by example when it comes to the inclusion of persons with disabilities. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Yasin Samatar from our International Labour Organization. That is a very, very comprehensive presentation